I've invited two married couples that have been doing this for a lot longer than any of us, and they're going to give us some wisdom today. So can you guys welcome up the two married couples we have, Kyle and Aaron Stackhouse, and Dana and Andrew. Can you guys come on up? We give them a round of applause. Real quick as they come on up, and I'm going to give this mic to the wonderful Dana, and you guys can grab a seat wherever. And I'm just going to move these over a little. Just a reminder, everyone, tonight, wow, extra clapping. Okay. Just a reminder, tonight is The Talk from 5 to 8. All right, guys? We would love for you to be there. We got a chocolate fountain. That should be enough to make you come here tonight. And we have Jennifer Coward, Aquila, myself, and Patty Howard will all be sharing, and this is something you don't want to miss, all right? So if you weren't considering, now's your time to consider. There's been so many hours put into a night like this, and it's to better equip you in your relationships and dating, all that stuff, so you can live out a godly relationship moving forward, okay? So I'm just going to fire away. I'm going to ask questions, and how this works is they're just going to answer whoever feels like they are led to answer that question first. Then we're just going to go at it. And so really my first question, and they have so much wisdom to share. I wish we had about 2 hours, and that dating game ran a little late, so I apologize. First question is, what attracted you to your spouse? What attracted you? And kind of a backstory of you, too. Oh, Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah. So we met when we were very young. We actually met. Yeah, that's true.
You guys met at.
We met and went to church here, and so we it was the other building, but when he was joking, he was saying the dating game. Hey, you might find your future spouse here. Well, that happened for me. So that was the reality of the situation for us. But the interesting thing is what attracted us to us. We met at a Christian concert. It is this thing called Ichthus, and I kind of saw her and was, oh wow, she's a cute girl. But the thing that it wasn't a physical attraction that brought me to her. She was just a sweet, God-loving girl, and that's what I was looking for. And so, I kind of kept my eye on it, and then. The funny thing is she didn't even notice me.
Well, that's kind of true.
You did not notice him at all.
He didn't say that. So we were both attending a prayer group that met before school at Jeff High, one of the teachers' classrooms. And so I think I was in that group for 3 months before I even knew of his existence. I just didn't even notice him. He was quiet. The first time I noticed him was his grandfather had passed away, and he was crying. And I was like, oh, he's so sensitive. That's beautiful. And so, but it's the same. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, he's so gorgeous. I was just more attracted to he was sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and also he didn't say that when we were at that concert, I was next to him, and we were supposed to be having this devotion time, and he kept falling asleep. And the minister was talking. I was like, dude, get up.
He slept at a Christian concert. Okay. Oh, okay.
We won't ever get out of here if she gets the mic. Well, I guess when I was on Asian.com and I typed Dana's name in, no, I'm just kidding. No, when we first met, we met at a church that both of us were invited to. Neither one of us attended, and she was singing, and my best friend was the lead drummer there, so we both got invited. And through a series of events, we ended up meeting and talking. But at that point, I know I did, but we're already behind. To be continued on the other story. But no, when we first met, there was no real attraction. Neither one of us were looking. I happened to introduce her to the area because I lived there in the area, and she was new to the church that I had gone to before. So I was just trying to do the right thing and just make her feel welcome, comfortable. And through our conversation, we soon realized that we had some things in common. And then we actually got to know each other through email.
Okay, let me cut to the chase. Oh, by the way, we'll be celebrating our 10-year wedding anniversary in May, so God is good. Yes, and let me back up and qualify this. So I grew up in a home where my parents were divorced, his parents were divorced, and so I'm going to make this really as brief as I can because I know there are a lot of students out there that maybe have experienced that or have gone through that with their own families. So I was kind of looking for love in all the wrong places, chose terrible boyfriends, was looking for somebody that I thought I had to have a boyfriend, and I went from one broken heart to the next broken heart to the next broken heart. And what God showed me through all of this, in fact, I even married the wrong person. And Andrew had been married before, so by the time we met, we had really been through some really rocky roads and down some very crooked paths. And so, having been a Christian, though, all of my life, what God showed me when I finally met Andrew was to not be looking for the right person, but be the right person. And the only way we can be the right person, and I wish somebody would have told me this as a teenager, is to make Jesus the Lord of your life, and that your confidence comes from him and not a boyfriend and not a girlfriend. And so when you spend time with the right people and you seek godly counsel and you have Winston and his wife and other leaders in your group, it just kind of helps keep you on the right path. So I didn't have to do it the wrong way. I did, and I went through a lot of heartache and a lot of heartbreak. But fast forward, God just showed us that he's the most important thing. And so when Andrew and I met, we knew that we needed to build it the right way, and that the foundation of having Christ in the center of our friendship first and courtship and then began to date, we knew that this time around we wanted to get it right. We did not want to ever repeat what we had gone through before with other relationships or marriages, whatever, heartbreak after heartbreak. And so building it the right way was really, really important to us. And so briefly, I just hit myself in the mouth with the microphone. Let me say this just real quick because I know that I have to cut out a little bit early. But one thing that I learned, and I think I read this somewhere, I sell houses anyway for a living. I was your realtor, wasn't I? God showed me through all of this that he's the foundation, as I mentioned. So when you're building a house, what do you pour first? The foundation, the concrete, correct. If you don't have the proper gravel and the footers and everything placed correctly, you can build a beautiful house. I've been in them. But then when the inspector comes along and he looks at the foundation and he says, you've got structural problems, what happens? Then the house has to be torn down or people don't buy it. And so with Andrew, it was that important that even when we dated, with our physical relationship, with the people that we spent time with and the way that we developed our friendship and courtship, it was to build it the right way. And so that foundation was laid firmly in Christ, and that was praying together. That was even at the point before we thought we wanted to be with each other forever, and you guys will be there. It was, are we willing to give each other up if that's not what God wanted? And we did that, and we fasted and we prayed for 8 days, and we were willing to give each other up if God did not want us to be together. So that was tough, man. When you're crazy about somebody and you think, gosh, if this isn't it, you know, yeah, are you willing to lay down that for the sake of what God wants? He might have something better. And so anyway, so building that foundation was so important to get it right, so that concrete and the foundation of Christ in our life and our dating relationship was so solid that nothing would destroy us. And so I kind of liken the walls of the house to being, you know, your wife and the children, and then the husband being the roof and the covering, because the only thing between the roof and the sky, I mean, it's God, right? The husband is between God, and he's covering his wife and his family. And so then, therefore, that house is strong and it's protected. And so that's how we built our relationship. Not perfect. We struggle, but we serve a perfect God. And so he bridges the gap of everything in between. And so I think with God, we can get through anything.
I love that.
And that's just the first question.
Yeah, that is just the first question. Let's go on. What were some things you looked for in a godly man or a godly woman? What were some things that you're just like, this is what I need to find?
Prior to Dana and I meeting, I was spending a lot of time in the Word. I was doing a lot of fasting, and it wasn't hard for me at the time because I was in the airline, so I was flying all over, staying in hotels and stuff. So I had a lot of alone time. So I used that to, you know, spend with the Lord. And there was a time where I got to the point, it's like, you know what, I want to be married again. I want to find that special someone. so through praying and everything, I actually created a list of everything in detail that I wanted in my wife. You know, my wife, that future wife. Thank you. And it was a very detailed list, and I held to it. You know, prayed about it, and I was patient. So I wasn't going to settle, and it even got to a point where some of my friends were like, "Gosh, are you ever going to get with anybody?" And it's like, well, I went on a couple dates, you know, with some girls, but they didn't meet that list, and I knew that if they didn't meet everything on that list, it wasn't what God had for me. So I made that list, and like I say, I was very detailed, and that's something that helped me when I found her. You know, it was like check. You know, boom.
Was a realtor a part of the list? Okay.
Let's see, what was the question again?
What were some things you were looking for in a godly man?
The only thing I knew that I wanted was a guy that loved Jesus. I became a Christian when I was 16 years old, and right after I became a Christian, I just immediately started praying for my future husband. And the only thing I remember that I prayed is just said, God, I really don't know what I want. I don't have any specific characteristics, you know, that I'm looking for. I just know that you know what those need to be. I don't. And so I just started praying like right away for that person. And it's totally true. Like when you stop looking and you stop worrying about it, then it just like slaps you in the face. You meet someone.
Yeah. As far as what godly characteristics, I know I grew up in a situation where my parents didn't send me to church. I had to come to church on my own. So every Sunday morning I came to church because I wanted to at 17 years old. Nobody was sending me. So it was a huge priority in my life. And I was on fire, and just on fire right out of the gate. When I accepted Jesus, I knew it was a game changer for me. Because I was living one way and then total change. She often jokes that she wouldn't have dated me if she knew me before Christ, and it's probably true. But I wanted so bad someone not just who was a Christian, but somebody who was on fire for the Lord. I didn't want to be unevenly yoked, even in the point of like I really am on fire for God, and I don't want somebody who's just lukewarm. Like faith's not important. Faith was important to me for every decision that I made, where I was going to school, how I walked into school, and everything. So it was a huge priority in my life, and I was not going to let anybody else.
That's awesome.
I was just going to say it's a non-negotiable. I think if you guys can learn one thing at this age, it would be, do not get in a situation that you're dating somebody or spending time with, on a regular basis. I think that's tough, because then when those feelings start to happen and then they're not sharing the same, vision and the faith that you do, it's hard enough being a Christian. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? So
And that
it was a
kinda goes in that,
non-negotiable for us. I wasn't going to marry anybody that didn't love Jesus with all of their heart and could lead me spiritually.
Well, that kind of goes into our next question, because what are the non-negotiables? And all of you said it in some way. Is that the first point you say, this is where we start off with? It's not number 5 or 10 down the list, but number 1 is non-negotiable of, I need someone who has Christ in their life.
Yeah, that's definitely the first top priority. No matter if you have a list like I did or whatever the case may be, God's first. If God's not first, you're replacing him with whatever else is first. Totally lost my train of thought. I was going somewhere.
Oh, what did you look for in a godly woman? Did you have something you wanted to add to that? She's got to cook.
She's a great
Oh,
cook.
man.
She's a great cook. I've just lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Go on.
All right, so that was the non-negotiable. So what has kept your relationship strong over the years? What are some things you're like, you know what? These are things that have kept us solid. Not perfect, but solid.
Communication. I think communication is probably the biggest. Yeah, she talks a lot. I listen. just like the video, we nailed it. So communication is key, you know, and that covers a lot of ground, you know, whether it's spending time together and just talking about life in general, whether that's spending time together talking about finances or, you know, whatever, or situations that we're going through, but even communication where spending time together in the Bible, you know, talking to God together, you know, communication is part of that foundation. That's kind of the cement that holds all the blocks together, you know. You have to spend time together, you have to talk, you have to communicate, whether that's about fun stuff or bad stuff or whatever, but we've gone through some pretty rough patches, and not against each other, but just in life, you know, trying to attack our marriage and where we're wanting to be and what we're wanting to accomplish. And it was that communication that we could sit down and come together to get through the situation versus attacking each other in the situation. So that's top priority.
Oh, well, this is kind of goes back a little bit, but I was just going to say, because I feel like it can relate to you guys, is that we never had a first date. We were just with friends all the time for like 3 or 4 or 5 months. I don't know, like at least. Like we were never like alone together for all that time. And I think it's really nice because it really takes off the pressure, you know, with physical stuff, and you can just really get to know someone. And I feel like that just really helped us, you know, to get to know each other and say, well, do we want to, you know, continue? Do we want to be boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever? So I just feel like that helped us. And then we had mutual friends that were also Christians, and so we just did stuff with groups all the time. Like we fit like 7 people in his Nissan Sentra, 88 Nissan Sentra.
It's very
like we all squeezed in
illegal.
there, you know.
yeah.
It was so fun, but anyways, he wouldn't let me touch his radio though. But that's and the day that I did, our friend James was in the back seat, and he went into Wendy's to get his check, and I was like, you know what? We've been together for a while. I'm gonna change the radio, and I changed the radio, and he gets back in the car, and he's like, woman, what did you do? And I was like, and we don't like the same music at all. And then James, he backed me up, and he was like, man, she's been with you for a while. She never says anything about your music. You need to give her a break. Let her listen to this song. And he was like, okay, but girl, don't be touching my radio again.
Why did he turn out to be ghetto? That's like, it's like yo.
Yeah, it happened. So, like she said, though, we had a lot of differences. We weren't 2 peas in a pod. I mean, we were way different, still are. I mean, interest-wise, we don't have the same interests. I don't like the same music she does. There's very few things that, like, we like the same movies, not a lot. But the one thing that we always had was we had a strong faith in Jesus, and that was always the priority of the relationship. It was built upon that, not built upon the fact that we like the same things. One thing that I've heard said that it makes a lot of truth is that if both of you all are the exact same in every aspect of life, then one of you is useless. Because in a relationship, there's times where she's stronger or I'm stronger, and there's things about her that I like a lot that she'll push the envelope. She'll want to explore this or that, and I'm a homebody, but I really like doing it. I wouldn't do it on my own, but since she pushes me, I like it. So, find someone that's not just the mirror image of yourself. It's not always finding someone who's just like you, because some people have good taste in music and others don't.
What's the next one? So here is the one that I think is going to be super practical for everyone in this room. If you knew what you know now, what would be some of the lessons you would tell yourself in middle school and high school about relationships? If you knew what you know now, what would you let's say, here's Lauren right here. You'd look at her and say, listen, you got to know this. You got to take this in. This is something that, as we've used, is a non-negotiable in a relationship. That doesn't mean hey, you can decide if this is important or this holds a little weight. This is this is something you cannot bend on.
I always joke I think a lot of guys thought I was really snobby in high school because if you didn't love Jesus, I was like, I'm sorry, I can't talk with you. Like, I mean, like you can, I mean, I think that's, and people were like, man, that's shady. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, I mean, whatever. It's not like I'm not going to, like, just not talk to you at all, but it's like, if you're showing interest in me and I'm like, oh, do you love Jesus? No. Okay, sorry, see you later. Have a good class, you know? So that, I just pretty much made that well known, like, and so guys didn't, unless you were a Christian, you didn't really come
Bye,
up to me.
Felicia.
So, and I don't know, and then just, and I think for girls, and I've talked to my girls about this, is that please don't waste time feeling like you're not good enough, or you're not pretty enough, or you're not skinny enough, because it's such a waste. You know what I mean? And I remember like thinking about myself, you know, in high school and being like, man, I was awesome and I was beautiful and I just didn't know it. And so please just realize that about yourself and don't put all of your worth into a guy or if you have a boyfriend or not. Like really just do some self-examination and just, you know, work on yourself and then when you do that, you'll shine and then you'll attract the right person.
No, that's good. I think that's awesome. She nailed it. Non-negotiable is they've got to be in love with the Lord because you can't build a foundation. As you know, we talked about that without that Christ-centered relationship. For me, if all the girls would listen and all the guys would kind of tune your ears, this would be something that I learned. It's really, really important. If you guys can grasp it, I'm getting your attention. If you all can grasp this, it would have saved me a ton of heartache and a ton of broken hearts and lots of tears through the years. And that would be, I thought I could date somebody and change them because they were a good person and they were a nice person and I might have loved their family. And I swear it said on my forehead, I'm a missionary dater because I thought I could just get them to the cross eventually. But what happened was it pulled me down and literally destroyed parts of my heart. So if I could teach you one thing, it would two things. Number one, non-negotiable, don't date or marry anybody that doesn't love the Lord, okay, number one. And number two, don't get involved and spend time with people on an emotional level where you think I can change them or I can get, not that we don't want to invite them to church because that is important. You want to invite your non-Christian friends to church, but be careful how you emotionally get involved because once your heart gets involved with somebody that isn't a Christian, that can happen. I've lived it more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times in relationships. It can pull you down, and what happens is, yeah, you might get them to the cross, but what happens to you in the interim and all the way there is devastating. And I didn't have to go through what I went through because I could have taken the high road and the standard and said, no, I'm going to draw that line in the sand and say this is a non-negotiable for me in my relationships, but I didn't, and it just about destroyed me. So those are the 2 lessons I would take.
All true words. One thing that I just want to add is don't let your emotions dictate whether someone loves you or not. I hear so many kids, so many people say, oh, he makes me laugh, he must love me, or oh, they look great, I love them, or they tell me I'm beautiful, so he loves me or she loves me. That's not love. If you build a relationship based on those things, what's going to happen to that relationship when you're no longer laughing or they're no longer the way they looked when you first met them?
They're old.
They're old. So don't let love be based on emotion. If you want to know what love truly is, 1, it's only going to come from above. But 2, get into some Christian-based relationship books. We did that when we were dating because we wanted to fully understand what a solid relationship based on true love was. And it wasn't just because she fed me or because I made her laugh or anything like that. Because what happens is when you start going through storms and stuff, you don't have anything to grow close together because there's no laughter, there's tears, there's emotions involved. And so don't base your relationship based on solely on emotions.
Yeah, the point of, and I just read this, relationships and marriage in general isn't to make you happy, it's to make you holy. And that's a statement like, what does it mean to be holy? And I believe that that person exists to make you the best person that God has created you to be, to fill those gaps of weakness that we have, and we all have them. and to stretch you in those areas. And I think that's what all you were saying.
Yeah, and let me add, any married couple who has built on a foundation of Christ can honestly look at each other and say, I don't need you, you don't need me. You know, we want each other.
Like that.
And what we mean by that is we have such a strong relationship with Christ and everything that he's blessing us with, we want somebody to share that with. And so when we got married, we were able to unite as one and share all the blessings that God had given us individually, and now we can actually partake in those blessings together. That's where your marriage should be circled around. You should not ever need someone or need to be with someone.
That's awesome. Kyle, did you have something to add?
Yeah, on the non-negotiable stuff for the guys, you know, we get caught up in, obviously, we're visual creatures, and we chase the girl because how she looks. I made it a point, and this was even before I became a Christian, but I really amplified it when I became a Christian. I had a lot of girls that were chasing me that I didn't want nothing to do with. And I made it a point to if their heart wasn't right, I didn't want to date them, be near them. And you know, we get caught up in, you know, oh, you know, she asked me out, and or whatever. Make a stand on that it's a heart issue. You want to have someone with the right heart, not just you know how they look or who their friends are or whatever, but make it a point that it's about their heart. And for me, dating, I think for us, at the age we were at, which was age you sit at, the friendship dating that she talked about was so vital for us because it takes all the pressure off. Like, you know, you're sitting alone at your house. Pressure's on. Yeah. You're sitting with a bunch of friends at a restaurant. You're all just having a good time. You're getting to know her. You're getting to see how she interacts with other people, and you know, it just takes the pressure off. And then we had cheerleaders in our relationship. All our friends were cheerleaders in the relationship. When I asked her to be my girlfriend in front of the white Bronco in the Kmart parking lot, they were all. Which is now Rural King, in case you didn't know.
Yes.
They were all at the Pizza Hut cheering us on, you know, laughing at us. But, you know, so those friends are still friends of ours today, and we're all still cheerleaders together. I had a teacher one time tell me that my friends and me would not be friends anymore when we got out of high school. And I told the teacher, your friends and my friends are different because we have a common relationship. And that common relationship is Jesus. So we still are, those friends, all but maybe one, is still in contact with us and cheerleaders and live life together from the moment here because we built a foundation on Jesus. And just, you know, that's the same that we built our marriage on.
That's awesome. Do you guys have anything else you want to add? We are almost out of time. You guys have anything else you want to say to this group? All right, give them a round of applause.
Like a little thing.
Oh,
like,
what? Oh,
so
go ahead.
the whole Kmart parking lot thing. So we were waiting for our friend Carrie to get off of work from Pizza Hut, and so we were there with like 5 other guys. And so they were waiting at Pizza Hut, and he worked at Wendy's, you know, across the parking lot.
Yes.
He was like, hey, I work at Wendy's. You want to go get some soda? I can get it for free. That's how he talked. And so I was like, okay. So we walk over there, and he was like, and they're like, hey, Kyle, who's this you got with you? Is this your girlfriend? He goes, not yet. Like this to me.
No.
And I'm like, oh gosh. And then they're like, well, you got to pay for this soda, Kyle, because you're not working today. And he's like, oh, crap. And so I made him look really bad. So we buy a little soda. And then, you know, we walked back, you know, across the parking lot. And we were looking at this white Bronco because we thought it was funny because it looked like O.J. Simpson's Bronco. Because that was in the news when we were in school. And so he started shuffling his feet and looking at the ground. And he's like, hey, you want to go out with me? And I was like, yeah.
Aw. This is when you say, aw. Okay.
And then we didn't know that all of our friends were watching us.
No more
We didn't know all
soda.
of our friends were watching us. As soon as we opened the doors to Pizza Hut, they're like all standing there, and the boys all huddle around him and take him over to the corner. And then Carrie, you know, she's like, "What happened?" So
Oh,
that's
that
our
is-
story.
I'm uncomfortable right now after you saying that.
Did any of this help? Anybody get anything out of this
Yep.
today?
All right, give them a round of applause, everyone. Thank you, guys. You are free to go. Thank you. And all right, so guys, listen up. If you have more questions, if they're available, then go grab them. I know they would love to talk. But this is what I want to share really quick. tonight for the talk, we're gonna be touching on a lot of things. I want to encourage you to take notes. I want to encourage you to be there. I want to encourage you to invite someone if you want, because what we're talking about tonight, I believe, like they have said, will be a total game changer in your relationships. You know, because if we don't teach you how to have a Christian relationship, the world will teach you how not to. And we think through social media, through movies, through friends, we think that that's how we should base our worldview of how we handle relationships, when in reality, the only place we start is the Word of God. So guys, I hope to see you tonight. I'm going to pray for you. Everyone up? We're going to pray, and you guys will be free to go, okay?